Okay, what do we start with? Okay, we actually have to start with this. This will dovetail or loop in. This will. What the heck is the word? This will transition naturally into Justin Trudeau. You will recall the other day I reposted Dr. Kieran Moore specifying, this is Dr. Kieran Moore, Chief Medical Officer of Ontario. This is not some schnook lawyer from Canada this is not some dumb bum lawyer from Canada. This is Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health. Gave a talk, CPAC, one of those CPAC interviews, or speeches, whatever, discourses, and specified that there are always risks to administering any therapeutic. His words, not mine, in reference to the Fauci juice. There's always risks of administering a therapeutic, and they are now in Ontario adopting the risk-based approach. Now, risk-based approach because any therapeutic carries with it certain risks, as Dr. Kieran Moore went on to testify, to specify in his answer. As he went on to specify, risk-based approach. A young, healthy individual, minimal risk of hospitalization from the Rona. There's a small risk. I want to pull it up because I don't want anyone, especially not the YouTube overlords, saying that I'm offering medical advice. So there's a small risk of something called myocarditis, inflammation of the heart. Small risk. 1 in 5,000. Very small risk. It goes from bad to worse, people. And I can't even, I'm not cynical because I'm still going to be vocal and quite stubbornly vocal about this. This is Kieran Moore.
I just recommend it to everybody instead of saying it's a personal decision.
Risk-based.
I think we're doing a risk-based approach.
Risk-based.
What's the risk?
What's the risk?
The risk, there's always a risk to having any therapeutic, therapeutic versus a benefit. You want to make sure there's a very strong benefit. Versus the risk. If for an 18-year-old healthy individual, the risk of getting hospitalized, if we have no medical illness, is very, very low. We know there is a risk, a very small risk, 1 in 5,000 that may get myocarditis, for example.
Just a very small risk.
You'd have to have that discussion on the risk benefit of a complication from the vaccine versus a benefit of decreased hospitalization. 1,000 that may get is very, very low. We know there is a risk, a very small risk, 1 in 5,000 that may get myocarditis, for example.
Okay, so look, I will not be able to rage against that accidental admission harder than I currently am. I could be more salty cracker level expletive. It's enraging. It's enraging. And it should enrage each and every one of you out there. Small risk. 1 in 5,000 of myocarditis for healthy 18-year-olds. Oh, crap. What I was just about to look up something. Doesn't matter. I forgot what I was going to look up. Small risk. 1 in 5,000 risk of myocarditis for a healthy 18-year-old. And I interviewed Dr. Francis Christian last week. Check out that sidebar with Barnes and his attorney. Very, very small risk. 1 in 5,000 of myocarditis. What were the risks of hospitalization for that healthy 18-year-old to begin with? Probably much less than 1 in 5,000. But and they tell you myocarditis, mild. It's no big deal. Just inflammation of your heart. I don't know. I know that a lot of people, a lot of professionals, a lot of people who are smarter than me, who do this for a living, have said there is no such thing as mild heart inflammation. It's not a thing. It's a concoction of fake news. It's a concoction of government, subsidized media, running hardcover for what many might rightly believe to be tantamount to crimes against humanity. And I was very reluctant to get to this point of using that term, crimes against humanity, when the government is knowingly pushing a therapeutic on a demographic which is exceedingly not at risk, when they know a small risk of a potentially not just irreversible, but a potentially more serious condition, when the government accidentally slips up and tells you the truth, well, then media comes in and does a hard cover. And check this out, by the way. Kieran Moore, 1 in 5,000. What? Right on cue. I know we've talked about this the other day, people. You're going to have to bear with me if you've seen it because it's part of the rage. Oh, look at this now. City News, Toronto comes in. Oh, I'm sorry. What's that? You have $600 million for us, Justin Trudeau? Well, then hold on one second. This is the type of headlines that $1 billion can buy you. Much lower than 1 in 5,000. Doctors take issue with Dr. Moore's myocarditis claim. Doctors take issue with the chief medical officer of Ontario's claim. I'm sorry, other doctors contradicting the official narrative. You are misinformation who should be deplatformed. That's how this works, right? Contradicting the who? Contradicting the chief medical officer of Ontario. Other doctors are now saying the chief medical officer is wrong. Oh, I'm sorry, because when other people say that the chief medical officers are wrong, they're spewing medical misinformation and they deserve to get deplatformed. But no. Now but by the way, City News is not saying it. City News is just saying other doctors are now saying that Dr. Kieran Moore is wrong. By the way, Kieran Moore is wrong. Spoiler alert, it's not 1 in 5,000. The German government has now just confirmed it's 1 in 5,000 per dose. We'll get there. Ontario's chief medical officer of Ontario was asked this week why he was not recommending the second COVID-19 booster to everyone, even though he had opened up eligibility to those 18 and over. We saw it. We know there's a risk, a small risk, a very small risk, 1 in 5,000 that someone may get myocarditis, answered Dr. Moore. Myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart muscle that can reduce the heart's ability to pump blood. Can you appreciate this euphemism? It may reduce the heart's ability to pump blood. Why not just say it may reduce your ability to live? I mean, yeah, it's going to deprive your heart from pumping blood to your. It might do. There's a 1 in 5,000 chance it might cause inflammation, which can a mild reduction in the heart's ability to pump blood. It's just a mild reduction, temporary, goes away, no problem. And if you say anything different, you're misinformation. Is a known possible side effect of the COVID vaccine. But some doctors don't believe. I'm sorry. They don't believe. It's as great a risk as Moore suggested. They don't believe. It's not that they don't know, they don't think. They don't believe. You know what I don't care about from a doctor? What you believe in. I would like to know, what you have stats for, and I don't give a sweet bugger all what you believe. Because, by the way, a very good doctor can believe in God, and I will respect his or her decision to do that. But I am not going to rely on a doctor's belief. I'm going to rely on their professional assessment, which is typically not belief, because belief can't really be substantiated, contradicted, or verified. Opinions can. Opinions can be substantiated. They can be contradicted. And by the way, way to cover your ass. I didn't say it wasn't as high as Moore suggested. I just said I didn't believe it was. I'm not making a statement. I'm just sharing my belief. The incidence of myocarditis after vaccination is much lower than 1 in 5,000. Kate Hanneman, director of cardiac imaging research at the Peter Munk Cardiac Center, told City News. She says the center has, quote, seen an increase in the number of patients referred for imaging assessment of suspected myocarditis in the last year. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't believe the number is as high as 1 in 5,000. But I've seen an increase in the number of patients referred for imaging assessment of suspected myocarditis in the past 2 years. In the past 2 years. What year is it? We're going into 2023. But that the leading heart center at the Toronto General Hospital has performed approximately 65 cardiac MRIs, 65, for suspected vaccine-associated myocarditis. Oh my God. It's even, you keep reading, it gets even worse. I don't believe the number's that high. Yeah, we've seen a lot more patients being referred for imaging of their hearts for suspected myocarditis, but I don't believe the number's that high. When asked what research he was looking at to make his 1 in 5,000 claim, Dr. Moore's office pointed City News to a Public Health Ontario report titled Adverse Events Following Immunization. The document says that the highest rate of myocarditis is in males 18 to 24-year-old, yada, 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 at 198 per million, or about 1 in 5,000. However, the same report also details the relatively small total number of myocarditis cases seen in Ontario as a result of vaccination. Hey, people, do you know when you're getting lied to? Right here. As a result of vaccination, I suspect a great many of the cases that have been referred to, you don't know what caused it. You just can put 2 and 2 together. As of July 3, there have been 775 reports of myocarditis or pericarditis, which is the sac or something. I don't know the difference. Someone explained it and I forgot it already. Following receipt of COVID-19. That's equivalent to 1 in 16,000. But those are just reports. Oh, those are just the ones that are reported, by the way. Those are not the ones that are not reported. People who don't know, people who think it's gas, chest pain, whatever. Those are the ones that are reported. And they're going to tell you that those reports are not substantiated. So it's probably higher than that. Whereas it's probably actually lower than that because people don't go to the hospital. Probably because some of them feel too ashamed to even think that they might have had an adverse reaction. 1 in 16,000, by the way, is still too much. I don't believe it. I believe Dr. Kieran Moore accidentally told the truth. And that's reported cases, not actual cases. Reported. There's probably a lot of people who never reported it, which would make that number probably in reality a lot higher. Yada, 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 yada. Okay, skip this garbage. I think it would be important to highlight that estimates of incidents vary at the rate. 1 in 5,000 is in a very specific population. Yeah, that's pretty much what he was talking about. So they just admit this. They bury the lead, and into the article, they admit that it's true. I think it would be important to highlight that estimates of incidents vary and that rate, 1 in 5,000, is in a very specific population, males aged 18 to 24 years after the second dose. That's exactly what he said. You effing liars. This doctor is pulling the wool over your eyes. City News is pulling the wool over your eyes because they just, in this same article, admit that Dr. Kieran Moore was right in his assessment. Yeah. City News doing good work for Justin Trudeau. The rates in other populations, and certainly the average incident is much lower, says Doctor. Yeah, no doubt it's probably lower in 80-year-olds, in 75-year-olds. Dr. Francis Christian explained why. They bury the fact that Kieran Moore was right, but probably still wrong because he wasn't even, his number was still an underestimate. I just want everyone to appreciate. We read an article that said, as a headline, many doctors take issue with Kieran Moore's estimate or statement of 1 in 5,000. The article goes on to confirm that Kieran Moore was right for the specific age group about which he was talking when he was answering that question as to why they're not recommending the booster or the second booster, whatever it is. The number was right. The headline said doctors took issue with it. Buried in that article from state-sponsored media, propaganda arm of the Justin Trudeau government, is the admission that Dr. Kieran Moore, was right. And he was wrong. Why was he wrong? Because it's 1 in 5,000 per dose, according to a German report. Now, here, by the way, I'll tell you what I do. I'll explain to you my MO. I don't happen to think that Children's Health Defense, Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I don't think he's a propagandist. I don't think he's a liar. I think he's doing his best to do good work and to be, I believe that. I don't know his intentions. It doesn't matter. Because despite the fact that he'll say something, I will still verify it on my own. This is from his publication, The Defender, Children's Health Defense News and Views. What date are we here? July 21st, 2022. Stunning. 1 in 5,000 COVID shots caused, quote, serious side effects. German health officials admit. So first you get Kieran Moore accidentally admitting it's 1 in 5,000 for myocarditis among young, healthy individuals. 1 in 5,000. He may or may not have intended to lie, but it's not 1 in 5,000 at large. It's 1 in 5,000 now confirmed by German authorities per dose. And according to Justin Trudeau, as of September, you're not going to be up to date unless you keep getting successive doses every 9 months. 1 in 5,000 for a certain demographic every 5 months. The government's going to come out and say, don't worry, we're not forcing anybody in that demographic to get it. If you choose to do it, you're playing Russian roulette or you're playing Fauci roulette. Ooh, hashtag Fauci roulette. Nobody's forcing them. We're only forcing you to do it if you want to avoid quarantine, if you want to travel, if you want to avoid certain restrictions, if we go into variant. I don't even know what next variant is. We're not forcing you to do it. But if you're not up to date by getting each successive booster, which carries with it a 1 in 5,000 for 18 to 24-year-old males, for example, if you travel across the border, you'll have to go into quarantine for 2 weeks. If if we re-implement the vaccine passport, you won't be allowed into Canadian Tire. You won't be allowed into big department stores of over 1,500 square feet because these idiots have thought about everything. Or walk in public. We're not there yet, Davina, but we'll see. So I read this article from Children's Defense, and it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's been called an anti-vaxxer, conspiracy theorist. They've attempted to deplatform him. They've certainly maligned him and defamed him to the point where if you cite Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or anything he's written, oh, that's Robert F. That anti-vaxxer, he's crazy, isn't he? I heard he's as crazy as Alex Jones. Oh, but Alex Jones got something wrong once, so therefore everything he's ever said has to be wrong, and he should be shut up and deplatformed and bankrupted. Same thing goes for RF Kennedy Jr. People. If you thought this was going to end with Alex Jones, wake up and smell the Red Bull. So I read this article. The German Federal Ministry of Health on Wednesday posted a, quote, stunning tweet. I don't know who they're quoting. Let me see who they're quoting. Admitting that 1 of every 5,000 COVID-19 vaccinations caused, quote, serious side effects. German health. And by the way, we'll get there. I'm showing you my homework. The data included 5,862 reports of suspected adverse reactions in children and adolescents. Only the people with the most lifespan left, only them, only quite literally the future of humanity. Think about that episode from The Simpsons, children, future. The children are the that's a total cliche, but only the future of humanity. How many years does a mild case of myocarditis strip from the life of a healthy adolescent? I've heard wildly varying estimates. What's a little? It's just mild myocarditis, 1 in 5,000 per dose per 18-year-old, healthy male. Science, people. And if you don't do it, you're a selfish bigot, extremist who has no business. You take up space, according to Justin Trudeau. Holy crab apple said, my heart. No, I'm good. The Federal Ministry of Health, BMG, on Wednesday posted a stunning tweet admitting we got that. Although likely an underestimation due to voluntary reporting, according to Alex Berenson, who stepped in the doo-doo by venturing out of COVID and into Alex Jones, whatever. The admission implies almost 300,000 Americans and Europeans have experienced a severe adverse event after receiving a Pfizer, BioNTech, or Moderna vaccine. So we see a tweet here. It's a screen grab. Never trust a screen grab. Never trust a screen grab, people. Translated, the tweet says 1 in 5,000 people is affected by a serious side effect after a COVID-19 vaccination. If you suspect an adverse reaction, get medical attention and report your systems to PEI Germany. And no, that does not stand for Prince Edward Island _ Germany. It stands for the Paul Ehrlich Institute, I guess. It uses the handle PEI Germany, is Germany's Federal Institute for Vaccines and Biomedical Drugs. Okay. By the way, they corrected their tweet. So the 1 in 5,000 people experience a serious reaction is actually, I just skipped the punchline. Okay. During that time, 172,062,925 vaccinations were administered in Germany. Of those, 17.1% were Spikevax. Okay. During the same period, PEI received nearly 300,000 reports of suspected side effects. The reporting rate was 1.7 per 1,000 vaccine doses for all vaccines combined, and 0.2 serious reaction reports per 1,000 doses. So the 1 in 5,000, by the way, that Kieran Moore presumably was also referring to, because, spoiler alert, an 18-year-old German kid's heart is probably not much different than an 18-year-old Canadian kid's heart. Probably citing similar statistics. because they're going to be similar across the board, probably, human biology being what it is. So the 1 in 5,000 people experiencing a serious reaction is actually 1 in 5,000 doses. PEI on Thursday corrected its tweet to reflect accurate numbers. Okay, don't trust Children's Health Defense because they're wacky conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, selfish extremist bastards, and they can't be trusted. Son of a beasting. I didn't have that. I don't have that one lined up. Hold on. Don't trust them. Someone's screaming in the house here. Don't trust them because they can't be trusted, because the media says they can't be trusted. Let's just go to Tabarnush. Here it is, right here. Okay, sorry guys. Let's just go to the actual tweet itself, because you can't argue with the source. Although you could undermine the source, but whatever. Here we go. Look at this right here. Boom. This is the website. This is a screen grab, but I have the link to the tweet right here. This is the tweet. Korrektur, which means correction. Die Moderat für Schweigengarten Reichsstellen Betrag laut PEI Germany. 02 Meldungen pro 1000 Impfdosen. I have no idea what I just read, but I know what it says because I went to translate. Correction. According to PEI Germany, the reporting rate for serious reactions is 0.2 reports per 1,000 vaccine doses. 0.2 per 1,000 doses. That's 1 per 5,000 doses, not 1 in 5,000. That's 1 in 5,000 per dose, and that's just the, quote, reporting rate from the, quote, news from the Federal Ministry of Health verified Twitter account. So Kieran Moore was actually wrong, but for the wrong reasons, people. I've been spending a lot of time in a car. I've got pent up energy. Kieran Moore was indeed wrong, and wrong for the wrong reasons. 1 in 5,000, very, very small risk. 1 in 5,000 per dose, people. So just let that sink in. As our government, and I'm saying ours in Canadian government, continues to push these Fauci juices on 6 months and up. Sorry. Just let me, because you won't believe me, and I know you will believe me because people know. But COVID vaccine, 6 months, Canada. Just good. Just you need to see it because you wouldn't believe that humans could be up to such depravity. And I am saying criminality at this point. This is Government of Canada. Health Canada authorizes use of Moderna COVID vaccine in children 6 months to 5 years of age. But don't worry, guys. They don't get myocarditis. It's only 1 in 5,000 for 18-year-old healthy individuals. July 14, 2022. While all this is happening, Kieran Moore comes out and admits it's 1 in 5,000, but he's wrong. It's 1 in 5,000 per dose. CTV propagandist mouthpieces Pravda, Canadian Pravda, come out and say, oh, some doctors believe that Kieran Moore is wrong. Germany comes out and confirms, correction, Korrektum. Es ist wann in, okay, we can't do it. It's actually 1 in 5,000 per dose. All of this is happening in the same month that July 14, 2022. Today, Health Canada authorized the use of Moderna Spikevax. Where did we just see that? COVID-19 vaccine in children 6 months to 5 years of age. This is the first COVID-19 vaccine authorized in Canada for use in this age group and marks a milestone in Canada's response to COVID-19. It marks a milestone. What's the word for a threshold that has been breached? It marks a milestone of moral, ethical, and I'm going to say criminal depravity. It's unconscionable, and I'll only give my legal advice. I'm not giving any legal advice. I'm just going to give you my opinion. It's unconscionable. I have been very reluctant to say that Hillary Clinton, lock her up. It's fun at rallies. Whether or not you get locked up for destroying emails, I don't know. Whether or not you get locked up for actually leading to people getting killed, a lot easier to justify. People need to stand trial for what they've done now. You literally have chief doctors talking about the most serious of adverse effects. And then you got state media downplaying the severity while the government continues to push what is becoming increasingly apparent is very, very serious and has potential 1 in 5,000 serious side effects. It's enraging. It's enraging, and there has to be accountability at some point in the future. There has to be. But that's it. No. Health Canada approving the vaccine now for 6 months to 5 years. As a parent, I can say that. It doesn't add credibility to, I always said, anyone who starts a sentence with as a blank, it does not add credibility or weight or legitimacy to what follows. It adds understanding to that person's experience in life. As a parent, anybody who contemplates this needs to have their head examined. Just relying only on the words coming out of the mouths of Canada's top doctors in real time. Head examined.